You think people are judging your actions. They're not. They're measuring how much they can take from you. Every smile when you wanted to walk away. Every explanation when silence would have been stronger. Every time you bent yourself into shapes just to avoid their discomfort. That wasn't kindness. That was you handing them the knife and showing them exactly where to cut. If you're exhausted from twisting yourself into what others need, hit subscribe right now. This channel doesn't teach you how to be liked. It teaches you how to be impossible to manipulate. Turn on notifications because what's coming will separate you from everyone still playing by rules that don't exist. There are two worlds. The first world is the one they sold you in school. Work hard, be good, play fair, tell the truth, treat everyone with kindness. They promised if you followed these rules, you'd be rewarded. You followed them, and you got walked over, used, forgotten. Welcome to the second world. The real one, where power isn't given to the pure, it's taken by the aware, where being good makes you forgettable, being strategic makes you unforgettable, where your reputation matters more than your reality, your silence more than your words, your absence more than your presence. Niccolò Machiavelli spent 500 years dead, and he's still more relevant than your therapist. While everyone else was writing fantasy about virtue, he was documenting how humans actually operate. He watched kingdoms fall because leaders cared more about being loved than being effective. He saw empires crumble because princes confused kindness with strategy. Today, you're learning 8 principles that will rewire how you move through every relationship, every room, every interaction. By the end, you won't need their approval. You'll have something far more valuable: their respect, their uncertainty, their inability to play you. Before we go deeper, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now. Tell me about one time you played by their rules, did everything right, and still got punished for it. Let's expose the pattern together. And if you're ready to stop living in their version of reality, type this exact phrase: "I'm ready to see the truth." Number 1. Your emotions make you predictable, and predictable makes you controllable. Here's what nobody tells you. Your feelings aren't yours anymore. They're data points in someone else's strategy. Every time you react emotionally, you just showed them which buttons to push. Every time you defend yourself with feeling instead of silence, you gave them ammunition. Every time you let them see what hurt you, you handed them a loaded weapon with instructions. Machiavelli said it plainly. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But here's what he really meant. Intelligent people surround themselves with silence when fools demand reactions. Think about your last argument. Someone said something that cut deep. You felt it. You showed it. You responded from that place. And in that moment, you lost. Not because they were right, because they got you to react emotionally, which means they controlled the frame. The people you actually respect don't do this. When you attack them, they go still. When you insult them, they might smile. When you try to provoke them, you get nothing back except a look that says, "Is that your best shot?" That calm destroys you more than any comeback ever could, because you threw your punch and they didn't even flinch. Now you're standing there wondering if it landed, if they even care, if maybe you just revealed more about yourself than you hurt them. Emotions evolved to help you survive immediate physical threats. Fear makes you run, anger makes you fight, sadness makes you retreat and recover. But in modern social warfare, emotions are exploits in your operating system. Someone who knows you get defensive about your intelligence will question it constantly. Someone who knows you crave validation will withhold it strategically. Someone who knows you fear abandonment will threaten to leave every time they want control. Your emotional reactions are a map to your weak points. Stop giving out maps. You're in a meeting. Your coworker subtly takes credit for your idea. Old you gets visibly frustrated, jumps in to correct them, voice tight with anger. Everyone sees the emotion. Now you look petty, defensive, emotional. New you stays completely neutral, lets it happen, takes notes. Later, in front of the right person, you calmly present the full project with documentation. No emotion, just evidence. Your coworker looks like an amateur. You look like someone who operates 3 levels above them. The amygdala processes emotional responses in milliseconds. The prefrontal cortex, your strategic thinking center, takes 6 seconds to engage. When you react immediately, you're letting your most primitive brain system control a modern power dynamic. 6 seconds of silence before responding is 6 seconds for your higher functions to calculate. Is this reaction strategic? Does it benefit me? Or am I just proving I can be manipulated? They say something borderline offensive, then watch your face. They bring up topics they know trigger you, then act innocent. They push a boundary, then play victim when you react. They're not confused, they're researching. When something hits emotionally, your body will react. Heart rate spikes, face flushes, jaw tightens. You can't stop the initial feeling, but you can control the next 6 seconds. Feel everything internally, show nothing externally. Breathe slowly through your nose. Relax your jaw deliberately. Let the moment stretch. Then, if you respond at all, do it from a place of cold calculation, not hot emotion. For the next 7 days, implement the 6-second rule. Before responding to anything that triggers an emotional reaction, count to 6 slowly. In those 6 seconds, ask yourself, if I were watching this interaction as a third party analyzing power dynamics, what would the strategic move be? Then do that instead of what you feel like doing. Journal each night. When did I almost react emotionally? What did I do instead? What happened as a result? Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am whole without external validation. Number 2. Humans are pattern machines, and whoever sees the pattern first owns the interaction. You think people are complex. They're not. They're running the same 5 scripts on repeat. Once you see the scripts, you see the game. Once you see the game, you can't lose it. Stop reacting to what precision. Stop reacting to what people do. Start observing why they do it. Every behavior is a clue. Every repeated pattern shows you exactly where their control panel is. The difference between predator and prey isn't cruelty, it's awareness. Prey react. Predators observe first, then act with precision. You've been programmed to take people's actions at face value. They say they're fine, you believe them. They say they're helping you, you trust it. They say they're your friend, you accept it. Meanwhile, they're reading you like a children's book. They see you need approval, so they withhold it until you perform. They see you fear conflict, so they weaponize it to get their way. They see you value loyalty, so they fake it until they don't need you anymore. You're playing checkers, they're playing chess, and they're winning because you refuse to see the board. Robert Cialdini spent decades documenting this. So did Abraham Maslow. So did every intelligence agency on Earth. People operate from 6 core needs. Certainty, safety. They need to feel secure. Variety, stimulation. They need to feel alive. Significance. They need to feel important. Connection. They need to feel seen. Growth. They need to feel they're evolving. Contribution. They need to feel they matter to something bigger. Every behavior is an attempt to meet one or more of these needs. Your boss who micromanages. Seeking certainty. Your friend who always has drama. Seeking variety and significance. Your partner who gets jealous. Seeking certainty and connection. Once you identify which need drives someone, you can predict their next 10 moves. You have a colleague who constantly interrupts in meetings. Surface level, they're rude. Pattern level, they're seeking significance. They're terrified of being invisible. Now you know their script. When you want them on your side, you give them visible credit in front of others. Watch how loyal they become. When you want them to self-destruct, you ignore them completely in a group setting. Watch how desperately they act out, how they make mistakes trying to be seen. You're not being cruel, you're reading the code. They text you constantly, then suddenly go cold for days. Surface level, they're playing games. Pattern level, they're using intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that makes slot machines addictive, to keep you hooked while maintaining their own sense of control and significance. Once you see the pattern, you're no longer affected. You don't chase during the cold period. You don't reward the hot period. You just observe, emotionally neutral, and decide if this pattern is worth your time. Usually, it's not. Humans are consistent in their inconsistency. The same triggers produce the same responses. If someone lashes out when they feel unimportant, they'll do it every time they feel unimportant. If someone withdraws when they feel criticized, they'll do it every time they perceive criticism. You're just watching the machine run its program. Watch people's responses across different contexts. Does your friend always make themselves the victim in stories? That's their primary script for getting connection and avoiding responsibility. Does your partner always accuse you of what they're actually doing? That's projection, and it's showing you their hidden behaviors. Does your boss only praise you when they need extra work? That's operant conditioning, and you're the rat pressing the lever. Choose one person in your life who confuses you. For the next week, observe them like a scientist. What do they do when they feel threatened? What do they do when they want something? What patterns repeat across different situations? Which of the 6 core needs are they trying to meet? What are their triggers? What are their tells? Write it down. Don't judge it, just document. By day 7, you'll see them clearly for the first time. And once you see clearly, they can't manipulate you anymore, because you're not reacting to their actions. You're watching their patterns and staying 3 steps ahead. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I see patterns others miss. Number 3. What's always available becomes wallpaper. What's scarce becomes precious. You're everywhere, always responding, always available, always there when they call. And that's exactly why they don't value you. You think presence builds connection. It doesn't. Presence without absence builds entitlement. Machiavelli watched this destroy relationships at every level. The prince who was always accessible became a joke. The advisor who was always present became furniture. The friend who was always available became forgettable. We don't value what we have. We value what we might lose. Your constant presence sends a message. I'll always be here no matter how you treat me. And once they believe that, they stop trying. Your absence sends a different message. My time and energy have limits. Cross them, and I'm gone. That message creates immediate respect. This isn't manipulation. This is economics. Supply and demand isn't just for markets. It's for human attention. When your attention and presence are abundant, their value drops to 0. When your attention and presence are scarce, their value skyrockets. Think about the people you text immediately versus the people whose texts you sit on for hours. The difference isn't how much you care, it's how much power you're willing to give them. You have a friend who only texts when they need something. Advice, validation, a ride, money, emotional support. You always show up because that's what good friends do. Here's what's actually happening. You're teaching them you're a resource, not a person. Your presence is guaranteed. Your needs don't matter. Your time has no value. Now watch what happens when you pull back. They text. You don't respond immediately, maybe not for a day. They text again, confused. You okay? You keep the response short, friendly, but brief. No explanation. Within a week, they're wondering what changed. Within 2 weeks, they're actually asking how you are first. You didn't have a conversation about boundaries. You didn't explain your needs. You just withdrew your automatic presence, and suddenly they noticed your value. You're the person who always stays late, always takes on extra projects, always responds to emails at midnight. You think you're building value. You're actually building expectations. Now try leaving at 5 p.m. for 2 weeks straight. Suddenly, your manager is checking in. Everything all right? You seem disconnected. You weren't disconnected. You were just finally connected to yourself. Your constant overtime made you the baseline. Your normal hours make you seem absent. That's how warped their perception became because you trained them to expect your constant availability. The human brain has a prediction engine. When patterns break, the brain goes into overdrive trying to understand why. Your consistent presence created a pattern. You're always there. Your sudden absence breaks that pattern. Where did they go? Their brain can't handle the gap, so it fills it with thoughts. Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? Do they not need me anymore? Are they finding better people to spend time with? You're living in their head rent-free, and you did it by doing less, not more. People reach out only when they need something, never just to check on you. Your plans are always flexible, but theirs never are. They cancel on you last minute, but get upset if you do it to them. They take hours to respond, but expect immediate replies from you. These aren't coincidences. These are symptoms. The relationship is imbalanced because you're too available. This isn't about ghosting. It's about rebalancing. For the next 2 weeks, cut your availability in half with people who take you for granted. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Just do it. Take 3 to 6 hours to respond to messages unless it's urgent. Say no to one social invitation you'd normally say yes to. Let one phone call go to voicemail. Watch what happens. The people who truly value you will adapt and respect the boundary. The people who are using you will either step up or reveal themselves by disappearing. Either outcome is information you needed. This only works when your presence had value to begin with. If you were already distant, withdrawn, and unavailable, pulling back further just makes you absent. This is for people who give too much, who show up too often, who sacrifice their own needs for others' convenience. If that's you, your absence will be the teacher you couldn't be with words. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My absence speaks volumes. If these first 3 principles are already changing how you see relationships and power, hit that like button right now. Because what's coming next is where we take this from awareness to application, from seeing the game to playing it better than anyone else. Number 4, truth matters less than perception, because most people never verify. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Your actual character, your real intentions, your true capabilities, they matter less than what people believe about. You could be the most skilled person in the room, but if the story about you is that you're incompetent, that's your reality. You could be the most loyal friend someone has, but if the narrative is that you're unreliable, that's how you're treated. The world doesn't run on truth, it runs on story, and whoever controls the story wins. Machiavelli understood this at the highest level. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Translation: your reputation is your reality in everyone else's mind. Protect it like your life depends on it, because functionally it does. They think truth defends itself. The facts will speak for themselves. People will see who I really am eventually. I don't need to explain myself. My work will show my value. Meanwhile, someone else is explaining you to everyone who matters. They're framing your silence as guilt, your hard work as desperation, your kindness as weakness. And because you're not controlling your narrative, they are. This is straight from cognitive psychology and political strategy. The same event can be described completely differently depending on who's telling the story. You worked late every day for a month. Frame 1, they're incredibly dedicated and driven. Frame 2, they're so inefficient they can't finish during normal hours. Frame 3, they're trying too hard to impress management. Same facts. 3 completely different stories, 3 completely different outcomes for your reputation. The person who gets to frame 1 first usually wins. Because people are cognitive misers, once they accept a frame, contradicting information is filtered out or reinterpreted to fit the original story. You and a coworker are both up for a promotion. You focus on doing great work, assume it will be noticed. Them, in every meeting, they casually mention their contributions. In every hallway conversation with leadership, they frame their role as mission critical. In every email chain, they position themselves as the key problem solver. You both did equal work. They get the promotion. Why? Because they controlled the narrative. They made sure the story people told about the project had them as the protagonist. You let your work speak for itself. Your work is mute. It doesn't speak. A mutual friend asks why you and another person aren't close anymore. If the other person gets to them first, yeah, they got really weird and distant. I tried to reach out, but they just shut me out. I think they're going through something. Now you're the problem. Unstable, difficult, the person who ruins friendships. If you get there first, we grew apart. Different values. I realized the relationship was one-sided and I needed to create some space. Now you're self-aware, boundaried. The person who knows their worth. Same situation. Totally different narrative. Totally different impact on how people see you. There's a difference between controlling your narrative and fabricating reality. You're not making up achievements. You're making sure the real ones are known. You're not inventing character traits. You're highlighting the ones that serve you. You're not lying about events. You're choosing which aspects of the truth to emphasize. Politicians do this every day. Lawyers do this every trial. Marketers do this every campaign. It's not deception. It's strategy. You hear from third parties things you said or did that you didn't. People approach you with assumptions about your motivations that are wrong. You get asked about situations in ways that reveal someone else already framed them. Someone is telling your story without you, and they're not telling it in your favor. Starting a new project. Publicly name your role and goals before anyone else can minimize them. Making a controversial decision. Explain your reasoning before critics can create their version. Going through a transition. Control the story of why before rumors fill the vacuum. Selective emphasis. From every situation, you have 10 true things you could emphasize. Choose the 3 that serve your narrative best. You worked on a failed project. Emphasize what you learned, who you built, relationships with, and the obstacles that were beyond anyone's control. You left a job. Emphasize growth opportunities and alignment with values, not the boss you couldn't stand. Strategic visibility. Your wins mean nothing if they happen in private. This isn't bragging, it's documentation. Solved a problem? Mention it in the next team meeting. Hit a goal? Send a brief update to stakeholders. Helped someone? Let them thank you where others can see it. Not obnoxiously, just consistently. Your narrative needs evidence, and evidence needs witnesses. For the next 14 days, write down your current narrative. How would someone describe you based on what's publicly known? Identify 3 recent situations that could be framed multiple ways. Practice reframing them in ways that serve you without lying. In your next 3 professional or social interactions, make one statement that subtly frames your narrative positively. Example, instead of, "I've been working on that report," say, "I'm finalizing the strategic analysis that will inform Q2 direction." Same work, better frame. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I write my own story. Number 5. Giving randomly makes you a target. Giving strategically makes you powerful. You think generosity builds relationships. Sometimes it does. Most of the time, it builds entitlement. You've been taught that good people help everyone, that kindness should be unconditional, that giving without expectation is noble. That's beautiful philosophy. It's also how you become everyone's therapist, ATM, and emotional dumping ground. Robert Cialdini documented this as one of the most powerful influence principles in human psychology. When you give someone something, their brain creates a psychological debt. They feel obligated to give back. But here's what he didn't emphasize enough. This only works when the person you're giving to understands reciprocity. If they don't, you're just being exploited. There are 2 types of people. Type 1, reciprocators. They track debts. When you help them, they feel compelled to help you back. They keep relationships balanced. These people are valuable. Type 2, takers. They accept your help and feel entitled to more. When you help them, they see weakness. They keep taking until you stop giving. These people are black holes. Your problem? You're giving to both types equally. Selective investment. This is basic portfolio theory applied to relationships. You have limited time, energy, and resources. Every act of giving is an investment. Smart investors don't throw money at every opportunity. They analyze returns. Why are you giving your time and energy to people who never reciprocate? You're not being noble, you're being scared. Scared they'll call you selfish. Scared they'll get mad. Scared they'll stop liking you. So you keep giving to people who take, and you wonder why you're exhausted. You have a friend who only calls when they have problems. For hours, you listen, you advise, you support. When you have problems, they're too busy, or they listen for 5 minutes, then redirect to themselves. Old you keeps answering because that's what friends do. New you recognizes the imbalance, stops being available, watches what happens. Usually, they disappear because they were never your friend. You were their free therapist. Occasionally, they notice the shift, ask what's wrong, and actually start reciprocating. Either outcome is valuable information. You're the person everyone comes to for help. They need coverage, you're there. They need someone to take on extra work, you volunteer. They need someone to look over their project, you sacrifice your time. Do they reciprocate? No. They just come back next time with a bigger ask. Because you taught them your help is free and unlimited. Stop being available. Watch who actually values you versus who was just using you. Why giving without reciprocity destroys you. Every time you give without receiving, you're sending yourself a message. My needs don't matter. Your subconscious believes that message. Your energy depletes. Your resentment builds. Your self-worth erodes. Then you wonder why you're bitter about relationships. It's not because you gave. It's because you gave to people who should never have received from you. How to recognize energetic black holes. Conversations are always about them. They ask for help constantly, but are busy when you need them. They have a crisis every week that requires your attention. When you talk about your life, they seem distracted or quickly redirect. They keep score of what they do for you, but never what you do for them. After interacting with them, you feel drained, not energized. These aren't friends. These are emotional vampires, your strategic giving framework. The three-strike rule: give generously the first time someone needs help. No expectations. If they reciprocate in some form, they pass the test. Give again when needed. If they don't reciprocate after the second time, they're showing you who they are. Stop giving. Third strike is closure. No anger, no announcement, just strategic withdrawal of your resources. Visible reciprocity. When you do help someone, make it meaningful and visible, not performative, just documented. I'm moving my schedule to help with this. Beats no problem. Why? Because it acknowledges the cost. It creates a debt they can recognize. Invisible help creates no obligation. Visible sacrifice creates reciprocity. Network mapping. Right now, list your top 10 relationships. Next to each name, write, do they give as much as they take? More? Less? The ones who give more or equal invest more here. The ones who take constantly divest immediately. This isn't cold. This is self-preservation. The caveat: when to give without expectation, to children, to people in genuine crisis who've earned your trust, to causes you believe in, to elders who invested in you. But to random people who just learned you're helpful, to coworkers who see you as useful, to friends who only show up when they need something. No, that's not generosity, that's self-destruction. For the next 30 days, before saying yes to any request for help, pause and ask, has this person reciprocated in the past? If no, say no. Simple as that. I don't have capacity right now. Journal weekly. Who did I help? Who helped me? What's the balance? Cut off the top 2 energetic black holes in your life. Just stop being available. Invest more in the top 2 reciprocators. Deepen those relationships. Watch how your energy returns. Watch how your relationships improve. Quality relationships aren't about giving to everyone. They're about giving intelligently to people who understand the value. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I invest in reciprocity. Number 6. Clarity gives them ammunition. Ambiguity gives you options. You tell people too much. Your plans, your opinions, your strategies, your fears, your boundaries. You think transparency builds trust. More often, it arms your enemies and limits your moves. This is the climax principle because it combines everything: emotional control, pattern recognition, strategic absence, narrative management, selective investment. It all builds to this: becoming someone nobody can predict and building relationships where betrayal costs more than loyalty pays. The trap of total transparency. The self-help industry sold you a lie. Just be yourself. Be authentic. Be open. Great advice if you live in a world of saints. Terrible advice if you live in reality. Total transparency means when you tell people your plans, they can sabotage them. When you tell people your fears, they can exploit them. When you tell people your boundaries, they know exactly how far to push before consequences. When you tell people your strategy, they can counter it. You think you're building intimacy. You're actually building vulnerability. Machiavelli's warning. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Translation: your alliances reveal everything about your judgment. But here's the deeper insight. Smart alliances are built on mutual benefit, not mutual knowledge. The strongest relationships aren't the most transparent. They're the most strategically aligned. This is straight from game theory and intelligence operations. When your position is clear, opponents can calculate their optimal countermove. When your position is ambiguous, opponents can't calculate. They hesitate, they make mistakes. In poker, you don't show your cards until you have to. In chess, you don't telegraph your strategy. In life, you don't reveal your full position to anyone. Your boss asks if you're happy in your role. Transparent answer: honestly, I'm feeling undervalued and I've been looking at other opportunities. Now you're a flight risk. You lose projects, you lose trust, you get managed differently. Ambiguous answer: I'm always interested in growth and new challenges. This role has been great for developing X and Y skills. What did you actually say? Nothing and everything. You signaled openness to more without revealing dissatisfaction. You mentioned growth without threatening departure. They're left wondering, are they happy? Might they leave? Should we promote them? That uncertainty works in your favor. Relationship conflict. Your partner asks, do you still want to be with me? Transparent answer: I don't know. I'm confused. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Now you've given them complete certainty about your uncertainty. They can either pressure you or prepare to leave. Ambiguous answer: that's a big question. I think we need to focus on what's making you ask it. You didn't answer. You redirected. You created space to think without showing all your cards. Humans hate uncertainty more than negative certainty. We'd rather know bad news than not know anything. This is why ambiguity is weapon-grade psychology. When you're unreadable, people fill the gaps with their own fears. They assume you're 3 steps ahead. They imagine you have options they don't know about. They worry you're seeing through them. And usually, people finish your sentences because you're predictable. They know exactly how you'll react before you react. They confidently cross boundaries because they know your consequences are empty. They make decisions about you without asking because they know what you'd say. You've become an NPC in their game. Predictable dialogue. Predictable reactions. Someone cancels plans last minute. Sometimes you say, no worries. Sometimes you say nothing. Sometimes you reschedule for 2 weeks out. They can't predict which response they'll get. This makes them careful. When discussing your life, give pieces, never the full picture. I've got something I'm working on, beats. Here's my entire business plan. Things are developing, beats. Let me tell you every detail of my situation. You're not lying. You're just not volunteering information they didn't earn. Instead of, I disagree with that approach. Try, what made you choose that direction? Instead of, I'm upset you did that. Try, help me understand your thinking there. You've revealed nothing about your position. You've gathered more information about theirs. You maintained ambiguity while they exposed themselves. Here's what most people get wrong about loyalty. They think it's absolute. It's not. It's conditional. It's always been conditional. The question isn't, are they loyal? The question is, under what conditions do they stay loyal? The alliance calculation, every relationship has a betrayal point. The moment the benefit of betraying you exceeds the benefit of staying aligned, that's when betrayal becomes rational. Your job isn't to trust people unconditionally. Your job is to make sure betraying you always costs more than it pays. Don't let one person control your money, your reputation, your opportunities, your emotional state. Diversify your dependencies the way you diversify investments. Alliances stay strong when you bring value that's hard to replace. Be the person who solves problems, makes connections, provides insights. When you're easily replaceable, you're easily betrayed. What do they need that you provide? As long as you're meeting that need better than their alternatives, you're safe. The moment you're not, you're not. Not paranoia. Protection. Important agreements, written record. Key contributions, documented. Problematic behavior, noted. If alliance turns to conflict, evidence matters. The strongest alliances aren't built on trust. They're built on mutually assured destruction. You know something that could hurt them. They know something that could hurt you. Neither benefits from betrayal. Both benefit from cooperation. This isn't cynical. This is how governments, corporations, and smart people operate. You're starting a company with someone. Trusting approach. We're friends. We don't need contracts. 3 years later, they push you out and you have no legal standing. Smart approach, clear operating agreement, defined roles, exit clauses, everything documented. The paperwork isn't because you don't trust them, it's because trust isn't a business strategy. Right now, identify your top 5 relationships, professional or personal. For each one, ask, am I too dependent on this person? Emotional, financial, reputational? What would happen if they betrayed me tomorrow? What leverage do I have? What leverage do they have? Is this alliance balanced, or am I giving more than I'm getting? Would they defend me if it cost them something? If the answers make you uncomfortable, you just identified weak points. You don't need to end the relationship. You need to rebalance it. Reduce dependency. Build alternatives. Create leverage. Document value. Transform it from a vulnerability into a strategic partnership. This week, practice strategic ambiguity in 3 situations where you'd normally be transparent. Don't lie. Just don't volunteer everything. Notice how people react differently when they can't quite read you. Notice how much more careful they become with their words and actions. Notice how much more power you have when you're a mystery instead of an open book. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I build smart alliances. You've learned the principles. Now here's how to implement them starting today. These aren't suggestions. These are assignments. Before you touch your phone, before you check messages, before anyone gets access to your energy, sit. Breathe. Repeat your identity statement. Today, I control my reactions. Nobody controls my emotions but me. My presence is valuable. My absence teaches. I am strategically unreadable. 5 minutes of mental armor before the world tries to penetrate it. This isn't meditation. This is preparation. Step 2, the 6-second response rule. Every interaction. When triggered, when tested, when someone wants a reaction, pause. Count to 6 slowly. In those 6 seconds, ask yourself, what's the strategic response here? Not the emotional one, the effective one. Then execute that instead of what you feel like doing. This one practice will transform every relationship you have within 30 days. Step 3, weekly pattern journal. Sunday nights, 20 minutes. Answer these questions about the week. Who tried to manipulate me? What pattern did they use? Where did I react emotionally when I should have stayed neutral? Where did I stay unreadable and what was the result? Who took from me without reciprocating? What did my absence teach someone this week? You're building a database of human behavior patterns. Within 3 months, you'll see people so clearly it's almost unfair. Step 4, the 30-day availability experiment. For the next month, respond 50% slower than your normal speed. Say no to 1 request per week that you'd normally say yes. Make yourself unavailable 1 evening per week. Phone off, no exceptions. With 3 people who take you for granted, cut contact by 50%. Who gets uncomfortable with your boundaries? Who respects the change? Who disappears? All of it is information. Step 5. Alliance and Narrative Audit. This weekend, 1 hour. Take 1 hour to map your strategic landscape. Part A. Relationships. List your top 10 relationships. Mark who reciprocates, green, who takes red, who's neutral, yellow. Identify where you're over-dependent. Plan how to rebalance or exit. Part B. Narrative. Write how you think you're currently perceived. Be honest. Write how you want to be perceived. Identify 3 stories you need to start telling differently. Plan 3 strategic visibility moments for this month. This isn't paranoia. This is sovereignty. You're taking control of your life from a strategic position instead of an emotional, reactive one. These aren't life hacks. These are patterns that have repeated for thousands of years. Machiavelli documented them in Renaissance Italy. Marcus Aurelius lived them in ancient Rome. Sun Tzu wrote about them in ancient China. Carl Jung identified them in the human psyche. Robert Cialdini proved them in modern psychology. The names change. The technology changes. The patterns stay the same. Humans seek validation. Humans need certainty. Humans exploit weakness. Humans respect strength. Humans value scarcity. This was true in 1513. It's true today. It will be true in 1513. You're not learning manipulation tactics. You're learning to see reality without the social conditioning filter. School taught you that fairness matters. It doesn't. Parents taught you that being good is enough. It isn't. Society taught you that people will respect you if you respect them first. They won't. Effectiveness, strategy, awareness, protection, sovereignty. Being good isn't wrong. Being only good is naive. Being kind isn't weak. Being only kind is exploitable. Being trusting isn't foolish. Being blindly trusting is dangerous. The real power is walking the tightrope. Using these tools to protect yourself and build the life you want without becoming the kind of person you're learning to defend against. You can be strategic and ethical. You can be unreadable and authentic with those who've earned it. You can be dangerous and good. Dangerous protects. Cruel destroys. Strategic survives. Manipulative exploits. Unreadable guards. Deceptive betrays. You're learning to be effective in a world that punishes the naive. That doesn't make you the villain. It makes you someone who refuses to be the victim. If you made it this far, you're not like most people. Most people will watch 3 minutes and leave because this makes them uncomfortable. You stayed because you're ready to see reality clearly. Subscribe to this channel right now for weekly breakdowns of psychology, power dynamics, and strategies the naive will never understand. Drop a comment answering 2 questions. Which of these 8 principles hit you hardest? And what's the one thing you're changing starting tomorrow? I read every comment. They come back in 90 days and tell me their life is unrecognizable. Machiavelli gave you the map 500 years ago. Your character decides how you use it. The game is being played whether you acknowledge it or not. The only question is, will you keep being a piece on someone else's board, or will you finally pick up your own pieces? Because now you've seen it. The patterns, the manipulations, the strategies. You can't unsee what you understand. You can go back to pretending the world rewards goodness, or you can move forward using effectiveness to build the life that goodness alone never will.